But definitely, I've been exploring different aspects of Devi other than Linga Bhairavi as well, so that to understand the Mahatmya, मतलब वो
Hmm.
बोल if you understand the magnanimity of what Devi is or what your deity is, then you're able
Hmm.
to visualize much better is one thing, and you're able to connect much better. One day in the night, he was sleeping, and that's how they describe, right, in folklore. एक दिन रात को सो रहे थे उनकी दिव्य दृष्टि में पता चला they got that vision that he has to establish something called as the Panchadhatu in
Hmm.
the foothills of there they call the Mount Agung, or so it's like I would say it's like the Kailash of Bali, and so he established that. So they would have these beautiful baskets. There would be flower which is green, which is purple, which is like white. Each of them was particularly offered to one deity. Like, this would be for
Hmm.
Brahma, this would be for Vishnu, this would be for Shiva, and then, for Devi, like that. And then they would invoke by first purification and then incense and these flowers. Like every area had that god, and they would do that.
Hmm.
And the audience was amazing. And the person who performed it, like there was one particular scenery where they show a horse, attacking.
Hmm.
People and just like showing away the Ravana's gang and everything. Oh my God, he was definitely उसमें तो वो पूरा
Oh,
Kantara style.
possessive.
It was like a Kantara style, and
Wow.
he was dancing on the fire, no? Like
Hmm.
we were going around. It was the energy was amazing. So like in Bali, they say, Om Swasti Astu. That's like the welcome. So at the moment we landed in Bali, the airport, international airport. So the whole decor was very nice. Luckily, even the immigration happened so quickly, and they had these cute iconographies where they had written Om Swasti Astu. So it's a pretty organized place because of the tourists inflow. Uh, I mean, it's been long pending since I had to go to Bali, since it's a very aesthetically, exciting place for, especially for, interior and the boho aesthetics. Since the construction of my place in Pune, my father always wanted to send me there, but back then it never happened, and so it happened finally. And as you know, it is very hot in Dubai, and that's how we went to Bali to spend
How
some time.
come, sorry for interrupting, but how come your father wanted to send you when you were young? What happened there?
Yeah, so basically, so the house, Pune का जो renovation किया था, so that time we had used the aesthetics which were very Bali-like, not like
Oh.
current day decor, but a few elements like the wooden style and everything. So the interior over there, she said, आपकी बेटी को बहुत अच्छा लगेगा, बाली जाएंगे तो, send her there. So my dad always wanted to send me there, or he
Oh.
like, he wished maybe, so I can go visit. And yeah, there I was. Uh, so we went to two places, mainly Ubud and Changu. Ubud is like I can say the culturally rich place, and the moment you enter that space, I mean, for me, it was like, oh my God, so much of greenery, such a tropical weather, and so there are so many different kinds of leaves, you know. And especially if you live in a desert land and then suddenly come to a green place, it's like heaven, right? And so the history goes back for Ubud also is, very interesting. I didn't know about it, but since I stayed there for a month and I got the opportunity, to extend my trip and, do some sadhana in the presence of, like the ambience of Ubud. I started researching a little bit more about Goddess's temple and what was the history of Bali. Though I did not go deep into it, I can say that there was a story which really caught my eye. Was many eons, like in different century. Rishi Markandeya, you know, he was one of the rishis. He was instructed by Shivji ya Agastya Muni ki you go to Java, you go to Indonesia, that part, and then spread Hinduism. So he, along with couple of his disciples or followers, they all came to Indonesia. And when once they entered, few days it took a while for them to settle in. But it so happened that they went through a lot of pandemic. They were not keeping well. So the answer was like, it was quite mysterious why it's all happening over there. And before that, there was no organized religion or any rituals as such in Bali. To maybe do some kind of tribal or what do you call ancestral worship. But after one day in the night, he was sleeping, and that's how they describe, right, in folklore. एक दिन रात को सो रहे थे, उनकी दिव्य दृष्टि में पता चला, like, they got that vision that he has to establish something called as the Panchadhatu in
Oh,
the foothills of there they call the Mount Agung, or so it's like I would say it's like the Kailash of Bali, and so he established that. So I'm sure it must have been some part of consecration which we don't know of, and that got established over there, and it was called, yeah, that place actually became a place which is really famous right now. It's called as the Bisaki Temple, the Mother Bisaki Temple. So that is the mother of all temples. So they have, and there they worship the Trinity, which is Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva all together. So if you, the moment you enter that place, there is a different vibe in, especially Ubud. Like I would say, I'm going back to another story that when I went to a shirt store, like a batik shirt store,
mm,
so the designer who was a very elderly man, so I asked him, here, I've been here, I don't feel like going back. The vibe is so nice. He said, definitely, you will, like how he related back to Kashi. He said, like how you
mm,
enter Varanasi, you feel very like you've come to a different realm or different place. Similarly, here also, when you enter Ubud, and if you're receptive or sensitive enough, you will find that the energy over there is different. Mhm. So because of all the maybe temples or worship or something very mystical about it. So coming back to Rishi Markandeya, so he established the Panchadhatu, and he was there for a couple of years, and later on they came down and at a confluence of two rivers. I don't know the name of the rivers exactly, and at the confluence, he said establish a temple because they said they had a like an energy vortex, and I think it's a temple of death or something related to that over the confluence. And they have like a walk over there. It's called Champuhan. Uh, and the temples, mostly they're not open for the public. They're open only for the royal families or the ceremonies. So if you really have to make it there, kuch jack lagana padega, to go visit it. Um, so at this confluence, so all Rishi Markandeya and all his followers settled there, and they saw that it was a lot of greenery of healing properties, and some say that they were like they could see some figurines of women like apsaras, So it was a very
mm.
mystical aura and ambience, and then he named it, called it as Ubad. You know,
Oh,
Bad later on slowly became Ubud.
So Ubad is like Abad, is it? Is it like prosperous or what does it mean?
It
Not sure. Mm.
could be, it could be.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, definitely, if they keep the way it is like so blooming with all the greenery and the rice fields, I feel
Yeah.
whole vibes definitely is very prosperous. But
Mm.
as any touristy place, it's all taking over by the
Mm.
chaos and construction, lot of inflow. But I'm sure the people over there, they're very community driven, you know. So every temple,
Mm.
I mean, there might be certain temples which certain community worships, and they are responsible for guarding those as well. So, suppose
Mm.
I had stayed at a homestay and I wanted to visit a
Mm.
temple which is not open for the public. So, my homestay lady, she said, I can make you go there, but we'll have to take the permission of the community head and then you can visit.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. That,
So
that
you
is,
are suggesting if someone is visiting, especially for this kind of purpose where they want to explore the temples and maybe do some sadhana, we should go for maybe a homestay with some local Hindu
yes,
person.
absolutely. Because I mean, oh my God, for me it was like a Devi's gift. I mean, though I went with my husband and then my
Mm.
in-laws, it was a different ambience, but I was really longing for some quiet alone time. My
Mm.
husband had to travel back, so I got these like 10 days to myself, and like a separate room. And I
Mm.
didn't know that, like I just booked some room for my in-laws, and then one more place had to be booked for me. It was just next to the other stay. And it was like a beautiful temple shrine kind of a place with all
Oh.
those Balinese decor, like, those mandaps. And the moment I entered, it was like, wow. And she showed me like, and the other room on the room's
Mm.
entrance, the figurine of Devi, so
Oh.
I was so grateful and so happy. It was like a miracle, right? Like you want that alone
Mm.
time, your sadhana, or reflect upon whatever you've been going through. And the opposite of my door, there was that temple family shrine. So the shrine, I can surely tell, was bigger than the size of the stay where these people were staying. So
Mm.
they had the shrines for, I think, again, the Trinity they call, and
Mm.
then some of them for the ancestors, and some of them for the people who have recently passed away. I mean,
Mm.
it was more of a temple from, if you look at a zoomed out perspective, than the home. So like how Sadhguru used to mention, right, earlier,
Yeah.
temple built first and then the homes came. I think they
Mm.
really followed that. And what I observed was they didn't have too many elaborate rituals like for daily purpose. It was more of like offerings, you know,
Mm.
uh, offerings of different variety of flowers. So one they would have these beautiful baskets. There would be flower which is green, which is purple, which is like white. Each of them was particularly offered to one deity, like, this would be
Mm.
for Brahma, this would be for Vishnu, this would be for Shiva, and then, for Devi, like that. And then they would invoke by first purification and then incense and these flowers. And the unique part of the culture in Bali, I think where we don't feel that very dark vibes. You go to many countries and many homes, you feel it's very dark or eerie, right? Luckily for me, I didn't experience that part in Bali. I feel that because one of the most important reason is they do a lot of ancestors worship
Okay.
every day. Like the lady whom I was staying with, she had like a banana leaf, and they had like some curd rice or a rice and
Mm.
milk and some more sweets. And they would sometimes, even keep cigarette. So these things were always
Mm.
kept in different directions, and especially in the entrance. And this, they would say, it is for the ancestors or the spirits. you know. So they knew the technology of like satisfying the spirits and keeping them happy so that they also be happy.
Mm.
Yeah. So, like even on my scooter, which I was driving, every day they would
Mm.
place this banana leaf and that little rice, and
Mm.
very, and it's a very subtle communication. I didn't even, I said, for a few days I wanted to, this is my Devi, I had a Devi photo, like I want to just be and read. I was, at that time I started reading the Devi Bhagavatam, a
Mm.
translated version of that. So I said this is they had a nice table and where I could keep that and do it. And the next day they had some festival. They would keep or like some ceremony. That the husband he got like this big basket, full of
Mm.
flowers and like some incense. With the incense holder was full silver, you know, for
Mm.
that silver, and then he came and placed it, and he did like some purification, and he prayed, and he said, "This is for your Devi," you know.
Mm.
Even have to communicate that I need flowers or this is what I'm doing. It is so subtle and they're so receptive in the sense of their culture and
Mm.
how it should go about. I felt I was overwhelmed, I mean, that was such a beautiful experience. So definitely I would suggest
Mm.
like, okay, if you want to do the touristy things, do it, but then, experience a homestay, stay
Mm.
with the locals, eat the local food, and then it depends upon your basis of interaction with them. Then you can, because they might be belonging to a certain community, you can ask where do they go for, praying or worship, and accordingly you can also go and visit them. So there was this. Oh, well, again. Um, I found out that after Ubud, even there's a place called village called Taro, Taro,
Mm.
and there remains the relics of Rishi Markandeya. And I was like, oh
Mm.
my, and apparently
Yeah.
Devi and the Purana, which I was reading, it mentions so much about Rishi Markandeya. It was like as if he was like
Mm.
walking around, and I was so stunned. I mean, that's when I also, okay, there was a Rishi called Markandeya. Otherwise, we are so aloof about all these ancient texts and our Puranas. I
Yeah.
in Bali, which was instrumental for me to dig deeper into these texts. Yeah, so the
So,
temple in Taro, sorry, the temple in Taro
yeah.
has the relics, and I think I sent you a picture as well. I you
Yeah,
can
yeah, yeah. That
it's
beautiful. Yeah.
Rishi Markandeya over there. They say there are some remains of him, or some, of course, like a linga over there. I wanted to go there. I got the permission as well, but they had some death ceremony, like somebody
Mm.
had passed away, so they had done a death ritual. So they said after that, they wait for a couple of days. They do the
Mm.
purification, and only then the temple is open for worship. Hmm?
Okay.
So rich culture,
Yeah. Okay, I have few questions. So, see, you mentioned in the temple shrine you were talking about, there is the Trinity, and there is a space for the ancestors. What about Devi? Because clearly Devi is strong, no? There. So how is she placed within the temple?
They didn't have a Devi shrine, you know.
Mm.
Uh, maybe particularly that community would worship for Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and the ancestors. But there are other communities for whom
Mm.
like Devi worship is very prominent. So
Oh,
yeah, yeah. Uh,
so is this the same as your Shaivism, Vaishnavism, Shakta, and all that stuff, or how do you know? Do you?
I'm not too sure about it, but there are different communities. For example, uh, I mean, this another story
Mm.
which I wanted to share. So there was this temple.
Mm.
I'll tell you, it is Apura Jagat Bukit. Dharma Durga Kutri. Yeah, so
Mm.
Durga temple basically.
Uh-huh.
This was one of the temples I was asked to visit by another Isha meditator who had gone to this temple during, there was a special program of
Mm.
where Sadhguru had conducted in Bali and Vietnam. So they had visited this temple. So I was very keen, and of course, a goddess temple because
Mm.
otherwise goddesses like on the main road there was like a temple dedicated to Saraswati, and there are more of the purification temples, and another Devi who is pretty much well known is Devi Danu. Devi Danu is
Mm.
basic goddess of of all the farmers of the rice fields. And there is like two shrines of Devi Danu, which is near the Mount Agung. There are two, one on the opposite side of the river, something like that. And so this was a temple we wanted to go. So we went on the scooter. There is like a couple of steps to reach the shrine. So we went there, and the shrine was closed. And I was like, oh no, I
Oh.
cannot see Devi, and it's going to be really like disappointing. We sang the Devi Aarti and we came out. And as soon as we like wore the helmets going back to our stay area, there was this lady. She was carrying like a lot of these offerings, and then there was
Mm.
this group of people who were already sitting there, and they were performing their rituals and everything. Generally, we didn't want to disturb them. I asked her, like, is that temple open? She said, yes, you just have to push
Oh.
and go. I said, oh my God. Okay. Then she said, why
Mm.
don't you join us? Like we are going to go there up in some time. Join us. So we actually went with them. She made us sit along with them, do the rituals. Then this group was about like 20-25 people. And we walked up all way back up to the staircase. And then there was this main, I think their guru, the
Mm.
person. So he kind of opened the temple. At the moment, the temple, like it was like, the form of like Mahishasuramartini, like
Oh.
not those painted deities, but just very raw. And there was a lady kind of next to us, and she went like un mata chad gayi for sure. She was like crying, and uh, she was unstoppable. Like, her husband was really behind her, just letting her, go through that,
Mm.
whatever she was experiencing. And then, of course, at the cool down. But even I was like, I couldn't stop my tears. And then looking at her, I was so overwhelmed. And then again, we went on the top, did the rituals. Like, so you do various offerings. They make you sit next to them, and then we offer. And yeah, that was a wonderful experience. And then when we were leaving, they informed, oh, we asked them, what is this, group of people? She said, we practice Tantra, you know, Tantra. And
Mm.
here we have come to this temple because for new people to get initiated into the Tantra. So that was like quite interesting. So it was
Yeah.
like देवी ने हमें जाने ही नहीं दिया, like she told कि चलो मैं हाथ पकड़ के लेके जाती हूँ. So it was like amazing experience. That is one temple, Devi temple, I would definitely recommend to go once you're in Bali. Mm.
So you can communicate with the locals. The language is not an issue.
Language, they speak broken English, and maybe
Okay.
one of them in the group will know good English.
Okay.
Uh, so what was to our advantages? Like, so first temple we visited was the Mother Bisaki temple. So we had got
Mm.
the traditional costumes, like they wear
Oh.
something called like kebaya. Like it's a
Mm.
nowadays it's like they have a white lace top, or like it's a top and like a sarong, and then they tie a stash like a cloth ka belt, and so we were wearing that.
Mm.
But they really appreciate that if you're
Mm.
foreign India, culture, respectful of what you're wearing, not just wearing shorts or, and then if
Mm.
like, they're so happy to see us in the local costumes. For men, they have something like a nice patta thing, which was very beautiful.
Mm.
And so it's a very, if you wear these traditional attire and then visit these temples, then there is a possibility you'll get a chance to visit the shrines. Otherwise, they would say it's not open for public, or they wouldn't
No.
much, right? Because this is a sign that you're respecting the culture. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's very beautiful, right? Like how they're still very strong about these things. In India, like now everybody's protesting. Why should I wear a sari? Why should I wear a
Mm.
veshti? I mean, that's unnecessary.
Yeah, I think these countries, when we go to, that is one realization. Like the way they keep their culture, it's very fascinating to see. There's not so much conflict here. I feel everything we do cultural, there's always some conflict. There's always some conflict we are thinking of, or someone's creating, or we are having to address. But coming back to this costume, so how do you get it sporty? Like, is it something you can wear on top of your normal clothes, or do you rent, or you buy, or what do you do?
Yeah, you can, like, see, sarong is something which everybody can buy very easily, or some of the temples they give you for rent as well. Like there is a Tirthampul temple, the
Mm.
ones which are very open for tourists. They will give you the sarong so that you can tie and go inside. But it's very easily available at any store over there. Even in front of temples, they have these places. I
Mm.
would say, I mean, if you're going to be there for a long time, you can always wear
Mm.
those costumes. And I love sarongs, now. I'm like, that's the most comfortable place, like costume to wear at home as well. I picked up like a four of them. Hmm.
Oh, nice. So then I think you mentioned, okay, do you want to cover the Ubud part? Like, what else? Any other memorable incidents?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the most important part was like being in the presence of like such a beautiful nature, the
Mm.
greenery. And I walked bare feet most of the time, just taking the scooter and visiting the rice fields.
Mm.
uh, Witnessing that and watching the sunset, the sunrise. Is difficult for the sunrise, but the sunset points, of course, there's a place where the rivers form, Champuhan Ridge Walk. It's a
Mm.
very nice. Maybe not every tourist goes there, especially Indians. If you go by the some travels, you're not going to visit that place, but it's a good walk. I didn't do the Bali swing or, all those typical things. But people can do like from water rafting and, adventure sports to the Bali Instagram spots where you can click beautiful pictures wearing those flowy grounds and everything. But what I appreciate about other tourists, like I think in Westerners, they do have that curiosity. They come and they stay for like months together, right?
Mm.
We want to go and just like hurry up and tick mark and just leave that way. But it's a place where you can just spend good time. You get good local food. The restaurants there are called Varung, the local Varung. So
Oh.
they'll have nasi goreng, which is like, rice, and if you eat eggs, and if not, like stir fry veggies. So which is good, and that's like the cheapest meal you can get over there. And there are amazing cafes. It's like, oh my god, or like vegan heaven also. Like it sometimes because I've started eating eggs, sometimes I feel like, oh, it was difficult for me to find eggs in certain areas. So
Oh.
there are yes, yeah, no, I mean, other than the local places. because all the fancy cafes have now become vegan. Once you go there, you'll
Yeah,
find
exactly.
of people in all those white linens and Europeans and a lot of
Mm,
Australians as well, and
mm,
people coming with their families. Like I met a lady. She was in fact from Dubai, but somewhere like from Europe, and she settled in Bali with her. She's got 4 children, and the her child, I think the boy was 4 years old. He walks bare feet, you know. So like I
mm,
don't spoil him with any fancy stuff. He was like jumping from here and there, and so you get that very boho chic and all that white
mm,
kind of decor. There's this alchemy cafe, and they have got a studio, like yoga studio, this fancy
mm.
studio where you can come and meditate and but a very beautiful ambience.
Mm,
And you can find all like fancy people in Lululemon tights and people in white linens and with those long pendants and everything. It's a sight to watch, but at least they're inquisitive about yoga.
mm,
I heard that, Goa and Rishikesh used to be the place for teacher training. Now Bali is very highly recommended for teacher training, yoga teacher training. Then there are some cafes which are like on the cliff, so you can watch the sunset
mm,
and like the whole valley and greenery, and some near the rice fields. There are nice, some of the homestays little further away from the main streets of Ubud. You can find where you can have these rice field view. But point to be noted is to sometimes when you go there, the rice, the crop when it gets fully grown is only when then they have these green color stems coming out, but otherwise you can just see like one of the stay we booked with a rice field view, but it was all like
mm.
just the water and the mud because it was just in
Yeah,
the sowing stage. So
right.
some,
Then you have to go in the right season.
yeah, season or ask them, like is it like
Mm,
fully grown or is it like just there? And yeah, and there was like one Indian restaurant uh, like we actually ordered from, and then later on, can you imagine what we got over there? Millets, palak paneer and chila and millet upma, and everything was like this sattvic food.
mm.
Later on, when we visited the resort, Indian resort, and the restaurant, and the owner sees my Devi pendant. He's like, "Hey, my wife is also wearing the same pendant, and we have a
Oh,
Yajna yantra at home." I said, "Wow," you know, like because going back to one evening when we were so hungry, Pranav said, like, let's order food, nice Indian food. The thing when you miss traveling is
mm,
like food. And there are comparatively very few Indian restaurants in Ubud and Canggu, like to the other touristy places.
mm.
Yeah. So they
I
be
guess with Sadhguru also doing a program there and all, there will be some footprint of Isha for sure. I don't know how strong yet, but it would be growing also.
definitely. I mean, Prem Anna is doing an amazing job.
Yeah.
My first point of reference was the list of temples he mentioned in his tour. So, and his research is so extensive regarding
Mm,
Agastya Muni's footprints
mm,
in Bali and the whole, the amazing research. And there's so much.
yeah.
But I think to have in-depth, knowledge about those places or, explore, you might need to know Balinese language or have a good friend who can help you translate.
Mm,
And those people who are very knowledgeable in spiritual texts, and they have those something like how we have the Nadi Shastra, and they have their leaves where they've written the
yeah.
future. they have those scripts, and there is a special college or institution, foundation. They are dedicated to just preserving it, researching it, and also like spreading about that knowledge.
Mm. One thing I wanted to ask you is in a lot of these places which have their culture based on India, especially when you see when we go there, they actually are very excited to meet Indian people, and how they react to India is very different. So one is whether you saw that, and the second thing I wanted to ask you is like you've given us this picture of Bali from your perspective because you explored in a certain way. You went with that mindset of doing sadhana. You did sadhana also and had all of these wonderful experiences. But um, is it that so basically, will we have to curate that trip like that, or if we simply go there, then what is the environment we will find in the city? If we were to go in a normal hotel or something like that, then would it become too commercialized? Are there some aspects of the Bali society which are not related to Hindu culture at all, not spiritual in nature? What would you say?
Yeah, so there are different pockets, right, in Bali. Like usually people, the preference is to like cover the touristy places. Earlier, the place near airport, and that's like the some people who love the beach side, the seaside, they want to go there and live. There are some people they go to. I know somebody who went and lived in a faraway place called Ahmed, Amed. So it's like a beach place, depending on the budget as well. So otherwise, the touristy hotels, if you go to, they will recommend only those temples, which is like the Pura Tirtha temple, which is like the purification temple. Then they would suggest that, of course, one should not miss the Kecak dance, like where they depict the whole Ramayana. That is, it happens in various places. The most famous one is definitely in Uluwatu, which is like another island away from Ubud, and takes maybe like 2 to 3 hours to reach there from Ubud. Which one we visited was so in the evening, the Kecak performance in the main Ubud street. It was in the, again, I don't know how the Balinese name, but it was the temple of death god. So I
Wow,
can,
that's so exciting.
yes, yeah, and I could relate because it was like Kal Bhairav, right? So
Mm,
something like that. Like every area had that god, and they would do that,
mm,
and the audience was amazing. And the person who performed it, like there was one particular scenery where they show a horse, like attacking
mm,
people, and just like showing away the Ravana's gang and everything. Oh my God, he was definitely usme to wo pura,
wow.
Kantara
Possessive.
style. It was like a Kantara style, and
Wow.
he was dancing on the fire, no? Like
Wow.
we were going around. It was the energy was amazing, and it's imagine it's like a very like dark night. There are like all these greenery and some little moonlight, and these performers they're coming. They're like or they have that particular sound of hoo, 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 hoo. Oh my God, that was like I that itself was great. And yeah, so that's a Kecak performance one should not miss. And the Ubud Palace, they have the cultural, they have a local dance as well. Oh, in the homestay, I learned a couple of steps of the local dance. So you see the women and over there, they use a lot of the fingers, and like our fingers are like just straight. I met all
Mm,
the girls who dance, and even like the lady whom I was staying with, their fingers can be like are so flexible because since young
because of the dance.
practicing those dance. So it's a very, I
Mm,
think they do all of these things. It's like a
mm,
movement of prana and energy. That's how they must have developed it. And it's so graceful. It's like they might be
mm,
depicting Sita being, taken away, but she's like full, like all like this,
mm.
like that. So that's the dance part. And of course, shopping is amazing. Like, and if you want to buy home stuff, like from macrame to boho stuff and furniture, is also good. And or I would recommend buying sarongs, that's like sarong, some local stuff. But you might get into a tourist trap. Like people would tell, I'll take you to this batik printing
Mm,
place, a batik village, or silver ornamentation and everything. It's fine. Like maybe you can check with the local homestay person where you would want to visit. Uh, Otherwise, it's again when we do a yatra, or if the intention, if it's very clear and strong, I think the place itself guides you where you have to be.
mm. Yeah, I think that's the best way. I mean, as a yatra, because then it becomes a much deeper experience, whatever it will be. So I was curious actually. So you started reading Devi Mahatmya here only in Bali. How
Yes,
did it
but
happen? Did you plan it or just?
no, I didn't plan it. It was just that it was a copy which I could get it from India, and my in-laws were coming to Bali. I
Mm,
started. But definitely, I've been exploring different aspects of Devi other than Linga Bhairavi as well, so that to understand the Mahatmya, मतलब वो
mm,
बोल if you understand the magnanimity of what Devi is or what your deity is, then you're able
mm,
to visualize much better is one thing, and you're able to connect much better. Like, see,
mm,
suppose I want to become like a Indian Idol, whichever way, right? I
mm,
don't know what that person is, how they do the performance. But if I watch how they do it, how they dress, how they sing, how they practice, the tiny details, then I'm also able to, expand my vision and my thinking and move towards that direction. Yeah, that's how it is. And it's been amazing. Like, I haven't completed it, but oh my God, it's like a lot of family tree over there about different rishis and
mm, mm.
Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. How did they come about? Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I guess Navratri also you must have gotten deeper into it. Your Instagram reels and stuff after Navratri are all full of energy. I wanted to comment once, like, I think you did something during Navratri which just. Mm,
I did know Instagram sadhana. Yeah, I stayed away from any content which is not Devi,
mm,
and just within myself. So, the best part about Ubud and Bali, what I liked is it's a nice place where you can just be yourself and go do your sadhana. Like everywhere else, we are in a rush to, go and attend something, visit this temple. But at the end, I felt for me that space inside
mm,
that homestay, that was good enough for me. Many times
mm,
we try to grasp and learn so many things, but we just
mm,
forget just to be.
mm,
But it doesn't matter, or like what you have accomplished in your
mm,
sadhana. But if you read something, also you need time to absorb it. If you have been initiated, it needs to settle in you. So I felt Ubud as a place, it gives that experience.
Hey everyone, as you would be watching this video, you may realize that it takes a lot of curation in order to get a powerful spiritual situation to happen for yourself or to intensify your sadhana practices, whether it is in a pilgrimage yatra or it is in day-to-day life or at your workplace also. I'm offering one-to-one consultations to help you ensure a conducive environment to do your sadhana practices and to try and intensify these practices and get a powerful spiritual experience. I'm basically a sadhaka myself from the past 20 years and I've traveled extensively across the world. I've gone on some very powerful pilgrimage yatras and I have interacted with a lot of sadhakas in different parts in different corners of the world. I have worked very deeply in ashram environments. I've interacted very closely with monks and I basically have come across a whole bunch of sadhana situations. So basically, I can give you some of my time and my attention to just look at where you are in your sadhana journey and see how we can intensify things. If this resonates with you and makes sense for you, then there's a link in the description of this video.
Just answering that thing about being Indian, like how does it impact those people?
Being Indian, like especially if they see like I've tied something or like that. Oh, you Hindu, me too Hindu, you know. So, uh, yeah, and Ubud and Bali is primarily the lot of like Hindu uh, practitioners and that culture which is still alive. Maybe in other parts of Indonesia there are other forms of worship and religion which they do. But here it's primarily Hindu.
Okay.
So it's very easy for Indians, and they appreciate that. Oh, you Hindu, me Hindu. And the best part, see, they openly say, "Oh, me Hindu, you're also Hindu." Tell me one day or some conversation where you have said like, "I'm a Hindu" in India, or like if to anybody. We are so shy. We are so shy that saying that I'm a Hindu or I'm a Sanatani or whatever, right? And they are like openly embracing it. That's so beautiful. There was
Yeah,
one.
I saw the same thing in Thailand also. Thailand also has a acceptance of their own, and their country religion is only Buddhism. But the way it percolates into the actual culture is different, definitely, from the way in India we are doing.
Yeah. And one of the most beautiful ritual which I witnessed, not completely, but I saw so many women and men nicely dressed with the basket of fruits and offerings, and they were walking towards some area. It was little chocker blocked, and I wondered what is happening. I asked the two-wheeler. I was sitting behind somebody on the two-wheeler. And then he said it's a ritual for somebody who's passed away, a death ritual. And it felt like a wedding, and there was like a whole mandapam in the like a stage in between. There was like this one big dragon, and then there was the remains or the dead body kept over there. And I didn't see anybody crying or whining away. They were all so respectful and very cheerful. I think so. They celebrate death also very beautifully.
Interesting.
Yes, and there was one more. There, like if you go to Bali, or if you've seen the pictures, you see these like structures like banana leaves, decoration, which are like these mini arcs. They are called penjor, Penjor. And during this famous yearly festival they have, the whole streets are decorated with these penjors. And there was a book which I picked up saying that each penjor, it was like representing the spine, spine. And then some would be dedicated to Shiva, and the design would be that. Some would be for Devi, and they're all made out of the palm tree leaves and handmade and various beautiful decoration. So even for full moon, and they have a like elaborate ceremony. Like you can see that the community gets together, they do the ritual. There's like a main priest who's doing the chanting. They follow it and they do the offerings. And after that, they would get the purification and the blessing. So blessing. So I was wearing a kumkum, right? So they said, "Oh, we also wear something like this, but it's made out of rice." So like the priest will have this rice mixture, and they will paste it on your forehead. So you can see everybody in the full moon, day. They're dressed in their traditional outfits, and they are wearing this what do you call the rice like blessing. That was really nice. It's got like that was Penjor. It was so artistic. There's a whole book on it. Like I mean, I didn't know. We might think it's just like in South Indian mandapams they do all the
Yeah.
decoration of banana leaves and everything. But every style represented a different thing. There was one which would be dedicated to Naga as well. So there were Naga shaped, yeah. So probably it could be, representing Kundalini and how the journey from top to bottom. In the top part, it would be maybe like a big, and there they place the shrine and they do the offerings. It's quite an interesting study.
Must be like the columns, how, like when we were younger, they did columns as a cultural thing. We just dismissed it thinking it's nothing much. The more lately, some articles have also been coming up, our own understanding has developed. And we realize that the column is way more intricate and there's so much skill, so much of knowledge that is being passed on through the column designs. Must be something like this. There's Penjar also, the way for each deity, they are doing something different. So it may be relating to certain understanding and sciences and all.
It's quite elaborate. Like, I mean,
Mm.
it looks like this, but everything had a different thing.
Mm.
See, it says Penjor sometimes symbolizes the Naga, you know.
Mm.
Then the body is made out of the scales are small arcs along the backs of many Penjor. Then it is
Mm.
also to neutralize the power of evil spirits. And
Mm.
some are, made for the farms. Some are made for the home. And yeah, it's very interesting.
It's really good, we actually know of Bali and the whole spiritual angle of it through this. Uh, which one is it? Julia Roberts movie, I think. Breathe.
Eat, pray, love. Of course. Yes,
Eat, Pray,
yes.
Love. But the thing is, what she shows is more from the Western angle also, and it doesn't go deeper into the Hindu roots. Even though she, I think, is Hindu, no, she's definitely very much gotten an
Yes.
experience of Hinduism. But it's very nice what you are telling us, and your sharing is so much more closer to home in a way, because we are also doing all these sadhanas, and you're just joining the dots and saying the entire spiritual vibe and ambience which is there, but it has all these roots which are very, very common and is something we can resonate with. It's really nice.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
thanks, Sphoorti.
once we go there also, there are like people you'll find, oh, we want to give blessing, purification. There are healers, but the well-known, I mean, the ones who are really good, they are hidden, it seems. It's very difficult to access them. I think the person who he like was shown in Eat, Pray, Love, he also does some purification ceremonies. So they
Mm.
keep going these purifications continuously, either through, rituals or through ancestral worship and offerings, or going to the temple, like many waterfalls, or there are water temples where you actually dip your feet in the water, take water on your head, and every different place signifies for different purification. Yeah, and even the traditional medicine. So if you go there in the morning, they might give you something called jamu, which is actually jamu. What I understood is like the traditional medicinal drink, or like which you can have every day. But what I had was a mixture of turmeric, ginger, honey, and pepper. So they would have this every day.
Oh.
Yeah, so and the immunity is great.
Yeah, I mean, it's just we may find it, on some of those walking tracks. There's those ISKCON people who come in those little trucks, and when they open the dicky of the truck, it's full of these kind of things. They will either give like aloe vera or wheat grass, all these things, only turmeric, kashayams.
True.
It's just like that.
They have their traditional medicines as well. Like they like the Ayurvedic stores we have, they have Jamu stores as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
Great.
And they easily find like organic good food. Yeah.
Mm.
Like for cafe people, it's like a heaven. You can keep going to different
Mm.
cafes. And the seaside, the beach side is also very interesting for people who love to go and be besides the sea. A lot of people
Mm.
come to or this surfing.
Mm.
So surfing as
Yeah.
well. Yeah. And there are other sites, the island tours and island hoppings. Yeah, they don't have a lot of cows over there, so they don't drink milk. Yeah, that
Mm.
was interesting. Yeah.
Do they use a lot of coconut, like coconut milk and all?
Coconut milk, not as much as Thailand, but they do.
Mm.
They do. They definitely. Uh, I think now you get a lot of stuff which is from different countries. Also, they've
Mm.
started make them there, but their food was very much like the nasi goreng, which is like the fried rice with maybe a
Mm.
chicken or the eggs, and then different chilies. So I didn't see a lot of vegetables being used, other than
Mm.
the basic ones. But my house lady made something out of karela and egg
Oh.
as well. Yeah,
Mm.
true.
Great, sounds fascinating.
Yes,
I
amazing.
know from Prem KVs we kept hearing of Agastya Rishi. I was so happy to hear about Markendeya Rishi also being here.
Yeah, I mean Markandeya Rishi, yeah, he is supposed to be one of the immortals granted
Okay.
by Shivji himself.
Mm.
And once I was doing a temple tour in Pune, and there somebody met me and he said, Nashik or Nagpur, there's a hill where they say you can actually access Rishi Markandeya through a different realm.
Oh.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, I want to go to
Yeah,
that Markandeya,
yeah.
but yeah. So lately, I mean, there's this book I read also about the immortals. And so
Mm.
immortals has been something which I've been exploring. What are they and how do you actually do that? Because we think like end point is like samadhi and okay, maybe perishing of the body, but there's something more beyond it. Like if you see all this Kalki movie and the avatars
Mm.
like coming, Ashwatthama and even Hanumanji is supposed to be an immortal Chiranjeevi.
Immortal, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, let's see what they have in store for us.
Mm.
Because the story of Rishi Markandeya hugging the Shivling, and that's how the Kal Bhairav be famous ho gaya na, matlab,
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So just to tell the viewers, when me and Sphoorti were just discussing this, we realized there's a Markendeya vibe happening for both of us. Because I also realized this whole Kal Bhairav story, which is the like which is so closely related to Markandeya, and I was already thinking about it, and I was thinking I should read the Markandeya Puran at some point. And Spurti was in a similar zone, maybe through some different channels she's got into it. Also, Devi Mahatmya is also part of the Markandeya Puran. So that was a
Yes.
really fascinating. And then she went to Bali and she had Markandeya stories, which was really fascinating. She sent me that photograph of the statue. It was so awesome for me
Yes.
also to see.
But apparently, like what I've just read today as well, that it was not only Rishi Markandeya who was called Rishi Markandeya. So all his lineage or maybe the people, they were also called Markandeya. So maybe it's like that. Just say recently I was like Ved Vyas ji,
Mm.
Vyasa in every yoga has been different. So
Mm.
something that maybe.
Yeah, there is. Even for deities, the same thing is happening, no? Like they say this Navratri, the story we hear is for this yoga, but there are other Navratris and other yogas. And so a lot of the stories are mixed, and that is why the Navratri, for example, Durga Puja is not 9 days, no? It is 5 days or something. While the
Right.
Navratri here is 9 days. But even Navratri, there are different versions. Like some are saying 3 days Tamas, 3 days Rajas, 3 days Sattva. While in other thing, they have those 9 forms of Durga, 1 day each for one Devi. So they're saying all of
Right.
these different thoughts and cultures have come in because there are different Navratri stories which relate to different yugas, and for whatever reason, specific communities chose to follow a specific form of worship, and that explains the various diversity in India. So similarly, of course, even for the rishis, I'm sure there are so many stories which just intermingle and all.
True, true. It's interesting. Let's see
Yeah.
what follows, when Kala Bhairava also comes to Isha.
Oh, that one, yeah, that's a really enigmatic thing. How it's gonna happen and what it's gonna. Everyone's like a little excited, you know. It's I was speaking in the ashrama, Coimbatore ashram also about Kalbhairav coming up, and everyone has their thoughts of what will happen after that, and they're expecting huge changes and people will change, blah blah blah. I don't know. I'm just saying everyone has some anticipation.
Yeah, yeah, hopefully happens soon.